Hey guys, Shazam here again. So, none other than the gay viewer himself told me that I should react to this video by Seth and Swag, and I thought, no, response videos aren't my thing. And then he pointed out that Papa Seth actually kind of gave us blessing to react to.
I need a 10-hour response video now.
With a 10-hour video, but I'm not gonna be doing that. I mean, this is technically Swag's video, not Seth, but, it's kind of Seth's video too since he's in it, but not anymore. It's our video. So, I'm gonna try reacting to it, to at least the important bits. But I'll try not to get into a lot of details because it'll take a long time if I did. And you guys know me, I'm a very passionate, hardcore Jiraiya rights activist. But, I'll try my best. So, here we go.
I think that most of us can agree Jiraiya would probably beat Hidan up.
If Hidan is the admitted slowest of the Akatsuki, and Jiraiya can react to Conan, who is not the slowest, then yeah.
Jiraiya fought Conan, beat her up, in base.
Oh yeah, that's
too.
Another one. Versus Conan. Pretty easy.
So we know he would beat Conan, especially in Sage mode, because he beat her in base, so that kind of takes care of that. Now maybe...
Okay, so, I'm gonna talk about Hidan, being the slowest. I mean, most Naruto fights aren't, blitzing and stuff, unless it's, I don't know, the 4th Hokage versus, a nameless ninja from the Rock Village. We don't know who that is, so, I mean... They're nobody, but Jiraiya versus the Akatsuki, there is gonna be no blitzing. It's just an ability versus an ability. But even then, Hidan, I think by slowest, it means, he's the clumsiest or something. I mean, generally, speed refers to, either skill in taijutsu, reaction speed, or just body flicker. Which is why Naruto is considered fast after, obtaining Kyuubi's chakra. But even then, Jiraiya is probably the worst counter to Hidan. By worst, I mean the worst opponent for Hidan. Because his ability is close range and requires him to stay in position. And it's I mean, even against Asuma, he couldn't do anything. And Asuma's probably one of the least versatile Jonin in the Leaf. And even then, he couldn't do anything without Kakuzu because, I mean... His immortality thing serves him by just not dying. Beyond that, he can just... Like how Shikamaru beat him, basically. Throw him in a pit. It's pretty easy. An easy win for Jiraiya, basically. Same with Conan. I mean, we've seen that already, but... let's just watch.
So now, this is where we kind of get into slightly more difficult territory, but I think that Deidara and Kakuzu are dubs for Jiraiya. They're a little bit more difficult, but I don't think that they're anything that Jiraiya, especially in Sage mode, wouldn't be able to handle.
Okay, so I don't think many people give Deidara credit. It's not like he's powerful against many opponents, but it's he's got one jutsu with very specific counters. Believe it or not, it's not C0, it's C4. The only two counters for it is having a jutsu to detect it, that's the Sharingan, or deactivating it, and that's lightning style. Both of those Sasuke had. Sasuke is the worst opponent for Deidara. And to be honest, if Jiraiya doesn't, I don't know, you could argue that Sage mode might be able to detect these microscopic bombs, or maybe his barrier, we don't know because his barrier detects movements, but I don't know if it detects microscopic organisms. Jiraiya inhales it, he's practically dead. So yeah, that's the only win con for Deidara.
So the Storm Revolution Ninja Escapades cutscenes are not canon.
I agree, they're not canon. So anything said from the games, including Generations, because everybody seems to consider them canon, even though there are a lot of cutscenes that contradict the manga. Plus, who the hell said that they're canon? Oh yeah, it's not the CEO of CyberConnect 2, but someone interpreted that what the CEO said as canon. So yeah, it's a major leap. So no, I'm not gonna consider it canon. I'm gonna dismiss any point from the games.
then like Jiraiya's beating up Datara and Sasori in base, much less in Sage mode.
Not necessarily. You know me, I don't really use the A is stronger than B and B is stronger than C, therefore A is stronger than C, because like Jiraiya might be able to counter Datara, but he might not be able to counter Sasori, and might be able to counter Sasori and not Datara, like I explained just like a few moments ago. But let's keep watching.
But there's other data book stuff that makes it more clear too, right? Now, I didn't like this statement at first. Eventually, 6 convinced me to chill out. But there's a statement about like Jiraiya's power in Sage mode surpassing all 5 nations and stuff like that.
Okay, no, like I respect Swag and Seth. They're obviously the backbone of the Naruto community, but like he's very biased against Jiraiya, and for 6 of all people to convince him that he's wrong, that is saying something. But let me put into perspective like how strong Sage mode is. Naruto, who was like not even able to compete with Kakuzu in Taijutsu, like yeah, he was able to divert his attention and catch him off guard, like kind of twice, okay. But he wouldn't have been able to get close to beating him without Rasen Shuriken. And that's like probably the strongest ninjutsu, like until the... in terms of destructive capacity, but until the Biju bombs. I mean, Rasen Shuriken's kind of the perfect jutsu. But Naruto went from there to like Shikaku, who doesn't even know him. As far as Shikaku knew, like Naruto is just a genin who couldn't pass the Chunin exams. And he's like, oh, he learned Sage mode. Like, the best thing we can do now is just to wait for him to finish the job of destroying the guy who destroyed, like, multiple Kage levels, including destroying the village. Yeah, that's how strong Sage mode is. Now, imagine Naruto from that level going to that. Now, compare it to Jiraiya, okay? Base Jiraiya alone is Kage level. And with stack Sage mode on top of that, he's practically unstoppable. That's how strong Jiraiya is. But let's keep watching and see where this is going.
Jiraiya should be above Gaara, who, like, he didn't lose badly to Datara. And he also then got stronger by the time the 5 Kage Summit and the war rolled around. And he still seemed to be weaker than A and Onoki.
Opinion, I like to think that if you imply that Jiraiya and Orochimaru are equals, that Orochimaru and Jiraiya are probably relative, or if not above the level of Sasuke that could already beat Datara anyway. One thing about Jiraiya is that he has such an arsenal of hacks abilities that just nobody really seems to talk about for some reason, which helps him a lot with these fights. Now, as for the Kakuzu fight, I do think that Jiraiya is more like a Kakuzu level for me personally. I think that one's a lot harder for me to decide on. As you guys know, I think Pain is stronger than Kakuzu, but you know, I also think Pain is a lot stronger than Jiraiya. So it's not really any statement for me. So I would say that Jiraiya is closer to Kakuzu than to Pain, in my opinion.
I mean, I kind of agree with this statement. Not because, like, Kakuzu is super strong, but because, like, Kakuzu has a relatively versatile arsenal. Because, you know, all the elements. But he hasn't used much of them. Like, I think one jutsu for each element, which Jiraiya could easily counter, except the diamond morphing thing. It depends on how much damage he can take before he breaks, because, like, you know, I mean, obviously he's not, like, stronger than... I don't know, I don't think, like, he can tank a Biju bomb just because it's not lightning, you know? But other than that, like, Jiraiya pretty much has, like, way more techniques to counter Kakuzu. Like, Kakuzu's gonna have to counter Jiraiya's amazing arsenal. That's about it. Like, Kakuzu's definitely underrated, but, you know, he's not meeting Pain.
Yeah, and something that kind of supports that is you have Kakashi fight a Pain, and he fights the strongest Pain.
I talked about this before,
He actually fights the Pain that ripped Jiraiya's arm off, as well as the Honcho Pain. So he fights stronger pains than Jiraiya and Sage Mode did. Not to say he beats Sage Jiraiya, but just an example. And this Kakashi just
Really? Like I hate this. So Jiraiya did fight all 6. We literally see all of them jumping onto him, and I think this statement just now kind of implied that the Azura. It's just an implication. I'm not saying he said that, but kind of implies that the Azura path is like somewhat Jiraiya level. I mean, Swag did put him above, almost put him above Jiraiya, above Sage Jiraiya in his tier list video, and that's kind of like this is like I have no words to say to that, because the other, like, this is I think I explained this before. My interpretation of how Jiraiya lost his arm, based on what we know of the Azure path and the special effects that we see in the manga, Jiraiya kind of tanked an explosion with his left arm, and that's why he lost it. I might get into it, like, maybe in the comments or in another video, but basically all evidence points to that. So that's kind of impressive that Jiraiya did it. I mean, there's nothing you can do to react to an explosion in point blank, but I guess that's... And don't even try to tell me that Kakashi did even close to what Jiraiya did, okay? It's not even comparable. It's funny. What Kakashi did is actually funny compared to what Jiraiya did. Let's keep going.
I do think that the thematic argument of him needing to learn Sage Mode to surpass his mentor probably makes a lot of sense, and it's probably what Kishimoto was going for. So if we're talking to the comments, I would say that makes sense. Yeah, sure, but
Now, Sasori is...
Okay, so you all know that I disagree. Sage Jiraiya is way stronger than Sage Naruto, and there is no difference between perfect and imperfect Sage modes. Like, I've talked about a lot about this. But like, it's the only argument you can make for Sage Naruto over Sage Jiraiya is like this thematic argument. Other than that, like, Jiraiya has everything. He really takes advantage of Sage Mode. Naruto doesn't. That's it.
I believe Sasori is above Sage Jiraiya.
This is how fast YouTube is with Brave. Notice how there's no pre-roll ads?
Kill me.
And here's how you can see how much time you save with Brave.
You can take this or leave this if...
I will definitely take this and chew on it and then spit it out, and then I'll leave it. So no. Like, the only win condition for Sasori against Jiraiya, like, if that makes you happy, it's the poison. Because I don't think Jiraiya has any counter to the poison. Like, funny enough, like, this is why the Sannin complement each other, because Tsunade and Orochimaru have a counter to his poison. But no, like, in order for Sasori is a long-ranged fighter, and he needs the puppets to get close to Jiraiya to damage him. But, like, think of Jiraiya's techniques. Most of them are, like, long to mid-range. Like, even his massive Rasengan, even though the data book says it's short range, you could argue it's mid-range. You could argue that because, Jiraiya is kind of far away from the target. Like, if Jiraiya whips a massive Rasengan out while Sasori multiplies the arms of his puppet in order to have the maximum range of effect, Jiraiya would still destroy all of them. Like, Sakura, in the sense of a physical fight, is a really bad matchup. Has a really bad matchup with Sasori, but Jiraiya in a physical fight has the best matchup against Sasori. But in terms of poison, obviously Sakura has the best counter, like a better counter than Jiraiya, with prep, of course. But no, Sasori is nowhere near, say, Jiraiya. I hate to say this, but he lost to Sakura. Okay, like, I'm not saying he's Sakura level, but he lost to Sakura, okay? That's it.
The main reason for Sasori is, it's stuff that I've talked about before, right? It's like all the third Kazekage stuff, how the third Kazekage is like stronger than Gaara, and also stronger than Rasa, who Gaara was like relative to. And Gaara's not that far behind the other Kage, I would say, during the war. And Sasori did it without that puppet, which is like his great.
Okay, okay, so basically your argument is that the third Raikage is stronger than Gaara, that the third Kazekage is stronger than Gaara, therefore Sasori is stronger than Jiraiya because he beat the third Kazekage. Like, didn't we establish that Jiraiya was stronger than Deidara, who beat Gaara, kind of like unfairly, but that the argument like doesn't go anywhere. You know what I'm saying? It's like unless you can prove that the third Kazekage is stronger than Jiraiya, maybe like that, then I'd probably believe it. But, like even then, like I could argue that Sasori beat the third Kazekage with poison, and that's because the third Kazekage didn't know about the poison. Like that's definitely an argument to be made.
Greatest asset, but there are a lot of like Sasori anti-feats out there, like even though he like, let Chio and Sakura kill him. There are times I also think that you can totally discount that statement from Kisame because even Kishimoto has said before that Kisame kind of exists in Itachi's shadow. Itachi was the first one to say they should run, and Itachi also did use Amaterasu to get out of the frog.
I mean, technically, the first statement was made by Kisame that they can't fight Jiraiya, so, but if you want to talk about who said let's run, then yeah, sure.
Is Kisame fast enough to react to Sage Jiraiya? Like, do you think Sage Jiraiya is, say, as fast as Base Killer B, or?
No, I think definitely he can react to Sage Jiraiya, because, like, B used Lariat on him, I think he did. And Lariat is primarily, like, I think he uses something like Body Flicker, because, you know, they move at near light speed, and he's able to at least, like, protect himself with the sword. Even if it did nothing, it at least absorbed, so he can definitely react to Jiraiya, who doesn't really utilize Body Flicker like that.
So this is a hard 50-50 for both of them, so...
Who else are we missing?
Definitely not a 50-50, definitely not, like, you left out a lot of things. Like, Jiraiya absolutely smacks Kisame. Maybe I'll make a video on Jiraiya versus Kisame. I don't know. I'm just too busy.
Obito. That's no difficulty. We don't need to talk about that.
We can talk about Itachi.
We can actually talk about Obito. I'll wait till the end of the video.
Actually, we can talk about Itachi.
Talked about this in my Itachi video, and every Itachi collab in existence that has remotely mentioned Jiraiya.
Yeah.
It's just his character, you know, not wanting to go all out and kill Jiraiya, who's taking care of Naruto.
Why does he not want to kill Jiraiya, who's taking care of Naruto? So it implies that because he's taking care of Naruto, that's why he doesn't want to take him out. But didn't he literally separate them in order to take Naruto? And almost did. Actually, I mean, I made a whole video on this topic. Itachi was there to capture Naruto. This has been said in the data book about Itachi. In the second, you can say it was retconned. This was said also in the fourth data book in Kisame's page, that there was an order from the Akatsuki, and we know Pain doesn't make a move without Obito saying it. And Itachi can't lie to Obito. Also, if there is a deal between Obito and Itachi to not touch the leaf, who the hell is gonna capture Naruto? Itachi. There's a lot to say about this, but the argument that he's a spy makes absolutely no sense. Like, please, just everybody, just drop this argument. It's ad nauseum at this point.
And all of them, he doesn't actually want to get Naruto as much as they're acting. It's clearly just, you know, a ploy. We know that for sure. He didn't even...
We don't know that for sure.
Go all out against Sasuke. You know, like, Obito had to break the ice. Like, did you know Itachi could have killed you at any moment?
Yeah, I mean, that kind of doesn't say anything about, like, wanting to kill Jiraiya. Like, we know that the whole point of Itachi's character is that he wanted to protect Sasuke, but that doesn't mean he wanted to protect Jiraiya or Naruto, so doesn't really matter.
And this is the main argument. This is how it goes, okay? You ready for this? Okay. Itachi points at Orochimaru, okay? Points at him. Puts him into a genjutsu so crazy as a 14-year-old that Orochimaru years later, when he's strong enough to fight the strongest Kage with Edo Tensei summonings, doesn't want to scrap with Itachi remotely until he gets his own Sharingan from his stolen brother's body, and is just so devastated by getting pointed at with one finger, says, I can never beat Itachi. He's too strong. And Sasuke himself is like, yeah, me and Orochimaru might need to fuse our bodies to be able to take him.
First off, he wasn't pointed at. He mentioned that a lot in the video, but it was a Sharingan. I think it's a base Sharingan, Genjutsu. But how about my argument? Okay, so Jiraiya and Orochimaru are equals. Okay, Itachi beat Orochimaru with the Genjutsu, as you said. We both agree on that. Itachi thinks Jiraiya can beat him. Jiraiya thinks he can beat Itachi and even looks him in the eye despite warning Naruto not to use it. Everybody knows that the Uchihas are famous for their Genjutsu. Therefore, Jiraiya is resistant to Genjutsu. Especially, hold on, I'm not done yet. Kakashi, who analyzed the Tsukuyomi to the core, even Itachi, points that out in Shippuden, and he still thinks the Akatsuki did not lay a finger on Naruto because Jiraiya was with him. There you go. That's my argument.
It's clearly demonstrated that Itachi is above the Sannin in terms of power.
Above Orochimaru through his hacks, maybe that, because Orochimaru is dependent on his durability. Jiraiya isn't, so Jiraiya isn't going to take a risk like getting hit by the Totsuka blade. And, definitely not use Genjutsu on someone who uses Genjutsu. And as established, Jiraiya is resistant to Genjutsu, so...
That's the whole point. Pain and Itachi are the above Sannin level endgame pre-war bosses.
Say Jiraiya is above Sannin level. I believe, I think Swag or maybe even Seth said that. And this is consistent with Pain's statement that Jiraiya would be able to beat him if he knew his secret. But I think they'll get into it. I'm not sure. Hold on. Let's keep watching. I mean, this isn't my first time watching the video, but I don't remember much of it. I was driving while watching it and getting pissed.
For Naruto and Sasuke. That is the whole point. Just being straight up honest. It's just so clear to me.
It's very funny that Itachi goes to the Leaf Village, where Naruto is, literally infiltrates it and starts eating in a restaurant undercover. Nobody spots him, right? And then fights with everybody outside, but he specifically waits until Naruto and Jiraiya are supposed to be together.
I mean, the first scene we see them at the restaurant, right after it, Jiraiya meets with Naruto, and they leave the village. It's not like Itachi did all of that and then Jiraiya met him. Also, he didn't go fighting all of them. They came to fight Itachi. That's what happened. So, I mean, I don't get it. This is mental gymnastics level. But not level 10. I'm sure you can do better. But I don't know, maybe 7.
I think it's also something you need to think about from Itachi's perspective is how is he going to convince Obito he was genuinely struggling? Because Black Zetsu and Obito are probably not going to be convinced that someone like Kakashi, who seems to be weaker than Orochimaru, who he pointed away, scared him away from the village. It just doesn't seem likely. So someone like Jiraiya seems more likely for what it's worth, at least to him. But yeah, it's just the whole thing is.
Okay, so let me get this straight. You base your argument on the fact that Jiraiya and Orochimaru are equals, and Itachi beat Orochimaru, therefore he beats Jiraiya. But you think people in the verse would you know the entire series obviously, but Obito only knows part 1 at that point. You know what I mean? So he, who also believes that the Sannin are equal, would think that Itachi is not lying. I thought it was so obvious that Itachi is way above the Sannin. Also, Obito should know almost everything about Itachi. Itachi doesn't know everything about Obito. It's you're right, it's impossible to lie to Obito. So he was not lying. You know see where this goes?
It's weird because everything Itachi does is an act. Even when he's messing up Kakashi, Kakashi's like, why didn't he just kill me?
Actually, Kakashi answers that, and Itachi kind of confirms it. It's because it takes a lot of chakra to kill him with Tsukiyomi, and they were hunting Naruto, not fighting Kakashi, so it wasn't a priority.
Yeah, I want to know comments. What do you think Jiraiya can do to bust through the Yada mirror? Give me a...
No, he did that. But hold on. I think he'll do it again.
Give me... And, how is he, resisting the Totsuka blade?
There we go! There we go! He said it! Look, if you, come to me and tell me to my face, Itachi beats Jiraiya because he's strong. That's a better argument than telling me, what's he gonna do to Totsuka blade? What's he gonna do to Yadamir? This is, the ultimate Shazam trigger, okay? This is this the simplest argument. It's like I never heard he came up with this argument. This is his last piece of Exodia, okay? He's gonna obliterate me with this argument. Okay, let's see. Let's go with the Totsuka blade because it's easier. Maybe, just maybe, Jiraiya has 3 Biju level summonings that use swords. Maybe, I don't know. As for the Yada mirror, I think it's a more difficult argument, but basically, first thing is the easiest thing. Itachi can't maintain Susanoo for too long, so Jiraiya definitely has more stamina than him. And second, the Yada mirror isn't omnidirectional, so any AoE attack Jiraiya has, like the bath of boiling oil, it would probably go around the Yada mirror and cover the back of the Susanoo and melt it, because we know Susanoo can melt. And lastly, this is just a hypothesis, okay? This is not a fact. Kirin could not destroy the mountain they were on. And Sasuke wasn't like, this didn't destroy the mountain, therefore Itachi did something. He kind of didn't expect the mountain to be destroyed. That's why he mounted the Uchiha wall thing, so he wouldn't get hit by the lightning, so he can aim it at Itachi. So it doesn't make sense for Kirin to destroy a mountain. Meanwhile, we know Massive Rasengan can easily carve away a mountain. It means just wipes it off, at least part of it. Okay. Therefore, Massive Rasengan's way stronger than Kirin. It makes sense. Senjutsu plus 100% chakra that's the size of multiple human beings, adult males. I think that makes sense. And seeing that Itachi was shielding his Susanoo from freaking paper bombs, I don't think it's a stretch for him to actually whip out his Yada mirror to protect himself from a freaking lightning sky dragon that's the size of the whole mountain. So it's possible, it's highly possible and maybe probable that Kirin destroyed the Yada mirror. And since it's part of the Susanoo, it's I think he can manifest it as long as he has chakra. So yeah, Massive Rasengan would do the same, or any attack that can be proven to be stronger than the Yada mirror. But let's pretend that Jiraiya doesn't have anything because the data book says that it can repel anything away. First off, this is I think it's called a no limit fallacy. Second, what's Madara gonna do to Yada mirror? Okay, what's Hashirama gonna do? See, it's like that. It's that ridiculous.
The only thing that Jiraiya could do to Itachi is frog song him.
And everything else I mentioned.
But if you were to be in a genuine matchup, Itachi has 99% more win cons than.
No, it's just about if most of Itachi's abilities are one shot, one kills. Did I just quote snipers and Overwatch? Never mind. So basically, the win cons is if Jiraiya's caught in by Totsuka blade, if he's caught in Amaterasu, if he's caught in Tsukiyomi, but that's arguable. It's not a guaranteed death. But, you don't know what Itachi's capable of if he's healthy and serious, and is not losing because he decides to.
Jiraiya does, and
That was sarcasm, by the way.
just more than likely just wins. Not to say Jiraiya just can't possibly win. Apparently, he could possibly beat Pain if everything went perfectly.
It's not if everything went perfectly. It's only if he knew their secret, which is I guess, a vague statement. But it's definitely not the one that everybody thinks, and that's. It's not like, if he knew that Nagato's there, he's just gonna ignore the paths. That's the stupidest argument I've heard.
So, sure, he could probably beat Itachi if everything went perfectly, but more than likely, Itachi just stomps him out. So
yeah, and so then there's Obito, which Seth mentioned. It's like, come on, man.
Yeah.
Please do not come on, man, me. Let me tell you something, okay? So, basically, with Obito, as I stated, Obito has been, Kamui, let's say Kamui, because Obito is basically a Kamui, can be beaten. It has been beaten 3 times, and all 3 times, all these people have in common is having at least one weakness and knowing the secret. If you don't know the secret to Kamui, you're losing to Obito. If you don't figure it out quickly, you're losing to Obito. Now, what are the weaknesses? Basically, the other eye, another Kamui to beat Kamui. Speed, that Obito won't have time to activate the Kamui right away again, like Flying Thunder God, which is instant. And the third, which Conan used, a long-lasting effect of an AoE attack. For you who don't know, who don't play video games, AoE is area of effect, so it's referring to area of effect damage. So the paper bombs have a large area and they're constantly exploding. So that's a long-lasting AoE damage. But if Jiraiya has those, he can win. And let me tell you, he does have many of those to bait out Kamui for 5 minutes. I'm assuming that I'm not assuming, I'm just saying in the case where Jiraiya knows everything about Kamui. Just so we're clear, okay? If Jiraiya goes against Obito, he's not likely to win before knowing the secret to Kamui. He can't win before knowing the secret to Kamui. But basically, we know that Jiraiya can use multiple techniques at once, specifically 5, okay? And so what he needs to do is bait out Kamui for 5 minutes. AoE, long-lasting effects. That's Bath of Boiling Oil, the Mud Wall, not Mud Wall, what's it called? Dark Swamp, and you can argue for, I don't know, maybe the Toadmouth Bind. You could argue that it's fine. It's another dimension. It's kind of a lost cause too. But maybe you could argue that Obito would need more chakra since it's a different time space. He can't really teleport away. You can argue that. And he has giant flame bombs, which can cover an entire exit according to the data book, which doesn't say much. But basically, Jiraiya is capable of using 4 techniques at once, especially with the toads on his shoulders. If he's in Sage mode, he can beat Obito. Therefore, conclusion of this video, Jiraiya can beat all the Akatsuki members. Thank you very much. No, we're not done yet. Hold on. There is more.
Minato thinks that
I was about
Obito
to say,
is just more intimidating than Pain. Yeah.
Minato thinks that 14-year-old Yellow Mask Obito.
I love this argument because of how easy it is to dismantle. Okay, so Minato thinks that Naruto would need more, 9 tails to tame 9 tails to beat Obito. A 14-year-old Obito, although I would argue there is no difference in strength. Although you could argue there is a difference in durability between 14-year-old Obito, who just got Zetsu body, and adult Obito. But other than that, it's just a walking Kamui. He's a one-trick pony. But basically, what is that based on? His only interaction with Obito, which he beat in 1 second. Okay, not 1 second, but you know what I mean. He relatively easily beat Kamui. For him to think Naruto would need 9 tails for that, Who is stronger than Minato? Okay, Ninetales is stronger than Minato because he killed him. Okay, and Minato is able to beat Obito. So yeah, this argument does not make sense unless you count the fact that maybe Minato thinks that acquiring Kurama's chakra gives Naruto access to a jutsu that might be able to bait out Kamui. Maybe that's one possibility. Or the other, which is the easiest one, he just believes that it's Madara. And how strong is Obito? He's Madara. That's it. That's why he thinks like you need Ninetales to be Madara. Because newsflash, Kyuubi is weaker than Madara. I mean, if you count Genjutsu, you know. So yeah, this statement is not. I mean, it's true, but not very reliable. And let me tell you, even with Ninetales chakra, Naruto can't beat Obito because like the only AOE effect AOE jutsu he has is a Biju Bomb, which he used to break the mask. Like that's what helped him break the mask. But even then, it's like instant because it explodes. Like Biju Bombs explode. It's like it doesn't take 5 minutes. That's what I'm sure of. So even then, Naruto has nothing to beat Obito, even in KCM2. In fact, he only managed to do that much because Kakashi was able to teleport Naruto. Naruto has nothing to do against Kamui. Unless he outlasts him with stamina, that's it.
Is stronger
would require
than Pain.
Ninetales Jinchuriki mode, by the way.
Yeah.
He doesn't think Sage Naruto could do it. It would take
he thinks that Sage mode isn't like enough. He's like, no, you need to master the Ninetales.
Funny, because Minato without Sage mode beat Obito. That's none of my business.
So
yeah, he's seen him fight Kakuzu, he's seen him fight Pain, he's seen all of. He's like, nope, you need Ninetales mode, buddy. Not happening. So that's just as clear as it gets. Like so.
So okay, Jiraiya has about like a 66%, maybe like 50-50. Definitely auto loses to 3, might lose to 1, and beats the other 5.
It's all.
No, I'd argue it's 80%. I think the hardest fight, assuming he has intel on everybody, the hardest fight would be against Pain. If he has intel on everybody, I repeat, if he has intel on everybody, the hardest fight would be against Pain, followed by Itachi, followed by Obito, because Obito is a one-trick pony. He only needs to counter Kamui, or Izanagi, but if he can bait Kamui once, he can bait it out twice with Sage mode. It's a lot. It's a lot.
Everybody make sure you go subscribe to Seth, subscribe to the channel.
Well, that was fun, wasn't it? Well, thank you guys for sticking around and watching. And if you're mad or if you enjoyed, I don't know, just leave a comment below. I certainly enjoyed this. I hope Seth and Swag see this. I might want to have a discussion with Swag, specifically Swag. But, don't forget to like and subscribe, please. And I'll see you in the next one. Take care.